Hi everyone, my name's Kathy. Welcome to the Fried Mud Pottery Studio. This is the pre-workshop video for the Goddess workshop. I hope you enjoy it.
Okay, so the goddess I'm making today, I've started with a bowl. So I threw this bowl on the wheel. You'll be able to just hand build this if you're wanting to make this particular one. It's just one way, just an idea of a goddess. This one will have the goddess growing up here in this bowl, and inside it can either have be waterproofed or you can put a light in there. So she's the garden goddess, garden of prosperity. So I start with a little base, so this will be her base, and then her legs will grow out from the side of the base. So it's just a little small piece that I've rolled, flattened out, and then cut into that shape. And you just start making some coils to build up the body. The body shape is one where it starts larger at the base. It's like a little mushroom pear shape, and it's just flat at the front here and just bringing it up to a nice bolded shape and then bringing it in. About every third you start skimming the surface down. Keep these coils quite thin because you don't want it too heavy. And I like to have it hollow, so thumb thickness is about as thick as I'd like the piece to be. So that'll be her front, and this is her back. And this is only a small one, but you'll get the idea. So I'm just rolling out more coils. Looking for a toothbrush. There's one over there. I've forgotten. Oh, there's one there. I just got a toothbrush. So the toothbrush, placed in a bit of slurry. So about every third, I'll be popping the toothbrush with the slurry on just to make sure it's joined well. But this particular one, I'm going up a little bit slower, so I'm doing about every second, because it's changing direction the whole time. And then also getting inside it and smoothing it off as well. Start to see it taking shape. The clay I use is BRS, so it's buff raku with sand, and it's Feeney's clay, which is really strong. And I'll probably raku fire this one just to give it that unique finish. You can see the shape starting to happen. That'll be where her legs will come in here, and that's the bottom. Just bringing up. You do this with any type of goddess that you're making that's sitting down, and this is the shape to start with. So it's the basic shape is like a pear. So I've measured this. It's going to be up to the top of the my wooden tool, which I should get the tape measure out and actually measure it properly. And that's as high as it's going to go, absolutely. So once I get to that height, which is exactly 13, I'm going to smooth it off now using one of these wood tools. Making sure it's nice and smooth, because this is really helpful to keep it smoothed the whole entire way. This makes the piece so much easier to deal with. Then it's keeping the pot nice and rounded as well, so don't let it sit flat. This tool, these little spatulas are really good for that. there. That's looking right. Now she might need to come in a little bit more there, so I might get that, I might just draw in just by scraping the clay to get her shape right before she sits on the pot. And then we'll start the legs. Either do this now or when she's on the pot, but because this one's going on there, let's do it now and smooth it off. Now I'm going to start working on the piece here. I'm just going to attach the body to the bowl. So I've scratched it down quite well. You can use just give it a few marks there and where it sits underneath as well. So I've pressed it down just so it sits on there nicely. So as you can see, it's just sitting nicely. We'll get back to the bottom a bit more after because it's just sitting at the moment. Just on this, we'll get the shape happening a bit better as we go. So I've brought down, there's that wedge there, so it just sits right nicely on top. And then it's just a matter of joining it on. And then the legs will come out from here. So what I've done here, played around with it for a little bit. I've cut a wedge out of the centre and drawn it in. So the legs are the bowl and it's just the impression. So the body went on and then I just squashed the body down and just formed this with my fingers around here. Just smoothing it down the whole time, and so this is to give the impression of a knee, and then this is the impression of the feet, which you can spend a lot of time working on that, but that's basically the idea. Making sure the pot doesn't start breaking because it's been pressed and squished and what have you the whole time. So now that the body is almost there, we're going to start putting the neck and the head on, and then we'll do the arms, which will just flow down the side. So the next step is making sure the body is in proportion, of course. I might just bring it up a little bit more. And it is a goddess, so it's not exact, and it doesn't have to be the perfect piece either. It's just a symbol. Just going to bring it out just a little bit there. Yeah, so slightly drawing it up and out, and I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to join that together. If it's a bigger piece, you put a coil across the top. And So her hips are sort of about there. That's about right. So pop a little neck on. I don't mind doing the necks a little bit higher and taller than normal, and then you can always chop it down. But if you've got a small neck, just a tiny bit of a neck sitting there, then it's harder to chop it off and add more. So you generally find that they're about the right length anyway when you've done them, but I find if it's a little bit longer than that's fine. They also have a bit of character. Make sure you turn it around and make, which I haven't done for a bit, to check what the back is looking like. Now the neck doesn't, it's got a lovely scoop in the back of the neck, so make sure that that's there. I can see there, she needs a little bit more taken out of here for the hip. It's not a lovely line, but I'll work on that a little bit later as well. But it's nice to see before the arms go on anyway. That will need to be quite sitting exactly how you'd like it. It'd be too difficult to try and fix it once the arms are over there. So I just make sure as well, tool or finger, keep the lines going down so she sits right in the centre. Should be right there. Now with the head, it's a little pinch pot that's going to sit on top. And get the head looking as close to how you want it to look before you pop it on. So just make sure that the head's going to be the right size. And that neck did not look right when I sat that on there. So now's a good time to fix things up. Head could be just a little bit bigger. The beauty of making them so tiny like this is that you can just make it bigger, popping your thumb back in, and that's probably a better size. Now to soft clays, much better than this hard clay. It's starting to dry out here a bit. I'll just bring this all the way around. I'll drop it in there too. Sit on top of the neck. So for the head, you can start with a cylinder, but the top of the head is more of a football shape. So I'd be looking at the top of the skull as a football shape, and then the cranium at the back is quite round. So it's lovely and round at the back. And then the face is quite flat at the moment. So we'll add the nose and the eyes, etc. to it, but just getting that lovely football shape, which is what we're looking for, is that lovely skull shape. Just make sure it sits on there well. Just attach the back of the head to the neck. And then I'll do the same for the front. You need a small amount of clay. Just attach that to there. like the height of the neck. It's a little bit long, but I quite like that look. So for me, that's pretty good. So now you can leave the head look like this, or you can add a couple of features just to give it its slightest feminine look. So I'm going to do that because she's going to need a little bit more jaw. So I find the centre line roughly, and the eyes are about midway on the centre. So I'm just dunking the eyes, just pressing thumbs in to make the eye sockets. And then the ears will sit back here, but I'm not putting ears on her. I'll put little dots in there so it looks like ears. So I'll press that in. The skull needs to be lovely and round, coming from the forehead. See that shape happening there. So from here, I'm going to pop a little nose on, which is just a little dab that sits right in the centre there. Just the tiniest bit of clay because it's so tiny. We don't need much clay at all. And it's an impression. Just an impression. And then for the eyes, I think probably I may change my mind, but I think for now I'm just going to have them closed. But I'll just make a hole large enough. So that one wasn't quite deep enough that I put in with my thumbs. Now this is trial and error, but if it fits in there nicely, otherwise it comes off and I'll do it again. But because the eyes will be closed, I'm not too concerned about how they look at the moment. Now, they still have to be round because you've still got balls underneath the closed eyes. It's just blending them in. And I'll do the other side. And then just draw the eyes down. I'm just making a face. I've decided now to have the eyes open. So I quite like having their eyes open. So just get that little bit of eyebrow happening. And then I'm just going to draw in the eye. I don't. It's such a small piece that by putting in a ball in there, a little bit of a ball in the start, and then to raise it if you haven't got much clay there, definitely. But otherwise, I'm just going to draw it in. Try and make them even, if it's possible, because you have one eye lower than the other. It doesn't look right. I think that's okay. bearing in mind it's a goddess, it doesn't have to be perfect. Get too hung up on these eyes and things, and we just and we don't need to. Sometimes just a slither of expression is enough for the eye. Now, I'll probably come back to this. If you're not happy with it, just work on it a little bit more and make sure that you are. But definitely needs, it's quite sunken in there. I just put a tiniest mark where the ear would run, just so you have an idea with the jawbone on where to put where the jaw starts. So just put a little bit of a slither there where the ear is. And I'll look at it from the front and make sure it's right. I'll sit about there. So it's just right, when you look at your own, the top of the ear is at the top of the eye, and you'll see at the bottom of the ear is where the jaw, and it's the jawline is the one that we want to get right. It's important. Now I'm going to fill in where it's sunk, so which is a good exercise right now to see that. So it's quite, she's got no jaw at all. No, no cheekbone. This might be too much. I certainly needed something in there, so I'm just going to fill this in. That's better. It's much better there. The highest point's just in the centre of the eye, of the jaw, the cheekbone. And she needs a little bit on the other side now. Not probably as much, but for some reason that side didn't need as much. Yeah, that's fairly good. Now why I'll just do that now while we're here is the jaw meeting up, and you can add more clay if it's needed there, but the jaw and lining up there with the earlobe. This one is okay. Sometimes, like the cranium needs to be larger now that I'm looking at it from there, and the head's sort of growing as we go. So just add a bit more to the back of the head, because I'm not sure if I'm going to put hair on her yet, but if I was to, you still need to have that looking relatively good before the hair goes on. Otherwise you won't, put that beautiful piece in there. So now we come to putting the mouth on, or the lips on. Just make sure, just the tiniest bit of clay. And another thing to know, this isn't that small, but it's quite a good little tool to use. There's lots of tools, little fine tools you'll need for this. Now the part of the face just below the nose is quite thick, so I'm going to put quite a bit there. And just marking, blending it together so it doesn't look like it's just sat there. I'll put a little marking right in the centre. Making sure that's blended nicely. Let's see whether you need to add a bit more clay and add a bit more jaw probably to her as well. Then I'll just grab this cutting tool and just on an angle, I'm just going to drop it down. It's more of an angle. Hopefully. Let's pop that lip up and that lip. And then just a tiny little sausage for the bottom lip. Smooth that off. It sits up under and it's underneath the top lip. On that a little bit more to get that lip to sit up underneath. See the lip starting to form there. Down because it's sort of sitting a little bit high. If you want a real pouted look, it's or just more of the lip sitting just nicely in. Right, now she definitely needs a longer chin. Her chin's a little bit short, so I'm just going to add a little bit more clay just on that chin. It's quite flat and it just needs to pop out just that little bit more by adding that chin on the side profile. Probably see that better. Still think she's a little bit sunken there, but we'll come back to that. You can see when you're working on one of these, as long as you don't get too frustrated with the piece, if it's not working for you, then walk away from it for a while. But if it is working, you're lost in there, and it's a great place to be, because whatever's happening on the outside of the studio walls is totally irrelevant while you're completely got your mind on what you're making, and every part of you becomes the piece, so it's really coming from you. It is coming from you, and what you're making is special and it's yours. So, and particularly if it's your first go at it, it's challenging to say the least. So don't be too hard on yourself if you're struggling, and if you're having a wonderful time, then enjoy the process, because it is meant to be a joyful process. Okay, well, here we go. We're just going to play around with that lip a little bit more, but I'm happy enough with the face so far. We'll start attaching hair shortly. Okay, so now the face, I'm quite happy with the face. I've just put the lips and the lips and the chin. Just made the chin a little bit longer, a little bit more pointier. She could probably do with a little bit more cheekbone there. I'm just going to bring this eye up just a little bit to meet the other one, because I can see now one eye is a lot. This one was a little bit lower. Just ever so carefully drawing that in. That's better. If you can see that. Let's draw a bit of clay up from the base. Yeah, that's better. I'll probably play with this a bit more later when I get those arms on, because they're starting to dry out. But before I do the arms, make sure that your piece is nice and smooth and you're happy with it. I'll just swing it around. I've propped it up a little bit there, so I know it was falling and collapsing. So you'll find if you're making one similar to this, you'll probably find the same thing. It starts to fall down a bit there, so it will need propping. So we'll get back on and finish filling it out. But I'm just going to hold it there till I get it finished, and then I'll see if I like the way it's looking. I just added this little swirl in here too, just to give it a bit of character for inside. I'm not sure what's going to happen in here. Maybe it'll have water in with a lily on it, or a floating candle would be ideal, or just to put a candle straight on top. That would be okay as well, because you can, it's got its little spot for it to sit, and it'll be fine. But anyway, it's just a bit of fun. So I'm going to just finish off by putting little tiny boobs on her, so they will sit, this belly button there, about here where I've marked the spot. The breasts start underneath the armpit. It's the start of them, so if you don't want to do, I don't think I'll do big ones on her, but you can do whatever you want, huge big ones, little ones, or none. So you mark them out first, and when you're happy with where they're sitting, then you just pop them on. And I usually like to make little nipples on them, because it's just squeezing them in. It's entirely up to you how you want to make them. So they're going to sit like that. So now with the arms, because they'll be sitting here on the end of her leg, you know, at the knees, so they're the length of the arms. I'm going to do it in two blocks. I've cut them out, but it'll be there and there across. So you just get 2 strips of clay, chop it in up, and then I'm just going to roll it. I hope you can see this. You can use a rolling pin, or I just press a well in the center and then join it together. This is better than doing them solid because the thickness can shrink a little bit. It can be too thin and it'll crack, or so I find this way is just probably the easiest way to do it, is to roll it together, and it's basically giving it a really nice arm, and it's way too long now, but that's fine because you can adjust it. So I'll do the next one the same, thin that out in there, roll it together. Just gives it a nice ball, nice shape. Smooth sausage, but you can make a thick sausage, and I just find these work well for me. So that's both ends, and make sure they're. And one thing too is always make sure that they're lovely and smooth before you attach. It's too hard to try and smooth them off after. Just all the time adjusting, because it did appear that one was hanging further down. There we go. And the bottom half. So we're doing 4 of these. And the last, we'll join these up, and then the last part of the piece is doing her hair. I'm not going to put much hair on her, but just enough. Just so it's got a little bit of hair, because I think I like the short hair version. This is just the same thing, just rolling these together as well. And then we're going to start attaching the arms. So I've got 4 sausages. I want to make sure that I'll chop them off. But so to make the shoulder, and make sure it's coming up basically nice and rounded, like that shape there for this particular piece. That's part of the shoulder there. And then I'll use this actually. So I'll chip a nice little angle, and that's going to form the shoulder. Probably took too much off. So that will sit just neatly in there, and then you form the shoulder. This will take a little bit of work to get this to sit right. So our arms will come straight down, and then we'll get the other one done on the other side at the same time, so they're together working in there. Slice this one off, same angle. About that. One looks smaller than the other, which is was a little bit, I'm going to add a little bit of clay. So you just sort of work it out as you go. Add bits as you go. Think, oh, it's not right. It's better to have it smaller than too big there to start. And then you can always add a bit more clay as it goes. But so her arms are slightly outstretched because she's having her arms down and then straight over here. Now before I go any further, I'll check the back, make sure that it's looking right from the back. Right. So this arm will go, so I'm going to cut it off there, ready for the elbow. And the same this side. And then we'll cut these in half and right, so I need that to come out a little bit more than that. And then this needs to thin out for the hand to come in. Needs to thin out. So it's just a matter of shaping that and getting that to sit there correctly. So now that I've started to attach the arm, it's a little bit of making sure you've got the body all in where you want it. So I brought the arm straight down. I've cut that on an angle there, and I've knotted this one, blended it in together and just joining it there. So it's then coming around the front and joining, just getting it to join up, border on there. If it's got an anchor, which she has attached to her leg, then it makes it stronger for the arms. Otherwise the arms are too free flowing, and they do tend to dry and fall off quite quickly, so it does make the piece more robust. And then for the hand, I'm just going to swirl it down, so oops, make it look a little bit more natural than that. Yeah, just sort of coming in where the kneecap is there, so basically sitting on top but blending in, so you can tell it's there but you don't have to make fingers, so the little hand is there. So I'm a little bit happier with that side now. It's a good time, you know, if you need to walk away from your sculpture when it starts to get a little bit like, oh, phasey. Start, you know, walk away from it, come back later. So I'll just get that joined to there. And can sort of be blending with this one. That's what I've just decided. Because the thumb is on the inside, it probably needs a little bit more thickness. Not this, you know, it doesn't. Thumb is on the outside, sorry, I meant to say. Yeah, so it's cupping. And the same. So now you just join them up. And just needs a shoulder blade. Not much, but just something there. It's a better flow then. Oh, it's coming down and joining in. So yeah, if you blend, get all that joined up. And then look at it from the front. So it's good to have one of these little turntables, and I picked this up from Aldi's, and they're just great. They're a cake turner and cake turntable, and they're really, really handy. I really like it. Okay, this arm is just a little bit longer than that one, so. Although this one's coming forward and she is more bent back there, so I guess I better allow for that too. Okay. Now for the hair, do have a lot of fun with the hair, but I'm going to keep this one really simple. So, ear there. So just make sure the back looks as good as the, you know, when you finish with the front, make sure the back looks good as well. So that it needs to, with the hair, just bear in mind when you're doing hair that it has to have a part where on the head, where it sits on the skull. So where it attaches to the skull. So if it's, so here I just do just a few lines where you can kind of see where it's slightly better with my fingers, but coming up. So it attaches somewhere. Still not 100% happy with that, so I'll keep playing with it. So now she needs a little bit more happening here, so it all matches. Just a bit more at the back. And little head's getting knocked around a bit. Let's give her a bit more coming down. And if you absolutely think, oh, I really, really don't like that, pull it all down again. This.
Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you found the information valuable. If you'd like to see more, just subscribe by clicking the link below.